We've been told a lie our whole life about how money works, and because of that, a lot of us have 401ks, me as well. We need to start investing in things you know, like, and understand. I know of all these other funds where, the fund raises money and they do real estate or these other things, but here, this was like, you're basically getting paid based on a service that they're providing. And
so it's a great way to take your infinite banking return of money that you're borrowing from yourself and put in a fixed income fund to cover whatever that interest may be and to make a profit for yourself.
You see, now you have your money in a place that's earning interest and dividends uninterrupted, and you have the investment paying you interest. This is how you start building wealth. Another week, another wealth webinar. Thanks everybody for joining us. Today is going to be an epic webinar. We got a lot of different things to cover. So obviously you all know it's 2024. It's an election year. It's also a year full of lots of goodies like, is the economy going to keep trugging along like it is and going up? Is it going to fall off a cliff? Are corporations going to be able to service all the debt that they have? Is the inverted yield curve going to stay? Are rates going to go up or are they going to go down? There's a lot of uncertainty out there in the world. And today on this webinar, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to go back and I'm going to show you a couple things about how you can become your own bank. But specifically, we're going to talk about how you can become your own bank by simply changing where you're taking money from. But I want to kind of throw you guys a curveball today. You all think when I say that, I'm going directly to the specially designed whole life, but I'm actually going to start not with a whole life. I'm going to start with a vehicle that most of you have and have had, that you've been told your whole life is where you should put your retirement savings. And I'm going to show you how to accomplish two goals with one task. And that is, I'm going to show you the age-old buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. But I'm going to show you how to get out at the top. Then I'm going to show you how to take that money and make it work for you and make money twice. And you're not using a whole life policy yet. Okay. And then I'm going to show you how to practice being a bank by recapturing and recycling all the money that you used to give away. We're going to start there. Then we're going to move on, and I'm going to then transition that into some real amazing opportunities, some things that we've been doing, things that I personally have been putting my money into, but I want to show you how I fund the investments and how I use a policy, okay, not the retirement plan, but how I use a policy or use a retirement plan, because I do both. And I want to show you then what that looks like. We're going to talk about the spread, okay? Not the spread that you put on your toast, but I'm talking about the spread when you become your own bank. But the one thing I really wanted to start with, you see, we've been on this challenge, and I know a lot of you have taken this challenge. It's the Earl Nightingale's Strangest Secret in the World challenge. We took a challenge to watch Earl Nightingale's Strangest Secret in the World, or listen to it, for 30 straight days. And every single day, that message, that 31-minute recording is going to hit you differently. And every day they text or DM, or some of you are posting it on the PMC. Some of you are posting it on the Facebook group, the IBC Facebook group. Some of you are doing it in MS. It doesn't matter where you're posting. We're all doing the same thing. But, one thing hit me today, actually two things when I was listening to it early this morning that I really want to bring out because it's super important going into 2024. And it also kind of falls right into what we covered on WTF this morning. And I'm going to show you a slide. Some of you have seen this, some of you have not, but I just think it really sums it all up. That slide right there. Yeah, that happy little bugger right there, that red guy with the 5%. Okay, so 5%. So if there's 100%, right, that's the top. That's the glass is full at 100%. 5%. Who in here right now can tell me what 5% is as it relates to money? Can anyone tell me? When I talk about the 5%ers, or I talk about 5%, what is it that I'm referring to? Who can tell me what that is? Financially stable at retirement. Right. So essentially, there's a couple ways to dissect the 5%. The 5% is a statistic done by Social Security, and I'll put it up on the screen right here, right? That's the Social Security. They say that out of 100 people, only 5 of them are going to be financially secure. So then, like right in that, you're like, holy cow, only 5 out of 100 in the greatest country on earth, the land of opportunity, the land of the free, the United States of America. That's our numbers when there's opportunity everywhere. This always, for as long as I've been speaking on stages, as long as I've been doing presentations, this has always bothered me. It's bothered me because we live in a land, we live in a time where being successful is actually quite simple. And after the pandemic, I will say it literally got even easier. Becoming successful, being financially independent, being financially secure, being wealthy, whatever you want to call it, has never been easier in history. And I say that as a matter of opinion, not fact, but I got to think, like, throughout history, at least as long back as I can see, this right now is the easiest time in history with technology, with how we can get data out there, how we can get our message out there, how we can brand ourselves. But specifically, the reason this is the easiest time in history is all you got to do is a little bit more than everybody else. 5% more, let's just put it that way. Let's just say every single day you woke up, but you had a purpose in that day. You had a worthy idea. You had somewhere or something you were trying to accomplish. And every day you woke up, you were after that same goal. Every day, religiously, you woke up and you thought about that same thing. And every day throughout the day, you worked toward that one goal. I don't care what that goal is. And right now, let's just check this, okay? Because it's important to write things down. I write things down all the time. People think I'm crazy. I'm always writing notes. I got Post-its everywhere. It's because I get ideas, I write them down, I solidify them on paper. I text them sometimes to Shauna. She'll just get a random text and she's like, what was this? I'm like, I knew I'd forget it. I wanted to say this because it was a good idea. And she's like, okay. But I'm solidifying that one worthy idea. Now I have had the same idea for at least 3 years, a worthy cause, a worthy ideal, as Earl Nightingale would put it. And I'll tell you what that is in a little bit. But before that, I want all of you in the chat right now to write in the chat, what is it that you're after? What is it that you're seeking? What is it that you want? Do you want $1 million? Do you want $10 million? Do you want $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month? Do you want that Ferrari? Do you want a Porsche? Do you want that Tahoe? What is it that you want? One thing, folks, not 10 things, because it's a distraction. I need one thing that you think about every day. Put it in the chat. What is it? That one thing. Financial freedom, that's too broad, Tom. We need to know specifically, what does financial independence mean to you? So like here, I think I'm gonna say it right. T put down 10,000 a month. That's a solidifiable number. $25,000 a month passively, $7 million, $10,000 a month, $10,000. So all those are specific numbers, but you know how when I ask that, 50,000 a month, keep them coming, folks, keep them coming. I might not read them all, but I just want you to understand that when you wake up with that idea, it doesn't matter how you're going to get to 10,000. It just matters that that's what you think about all day long. And if that's how it works, and you do 5% more than everybody else, you're already doing almost 99% more than everybody else because you're thinking about the same idea every day. But not only thinking about it, you have faith. What is faith, folks? Does anyone understand faith? When I say faith, you think religious, right? You think I have faith in God. I have faith in Jesus. I have faith in, a higher power. You have faith in something. But here's the thing. Without faith, persistence doesn't exist. Think about that. Without faith, there is no persistence, because you would never be persistent in your actions. You would never be persistent in what you do if you didn't have faith that that would happen, right? Think about that. If you didn't have faith in God, would you pray every single night? Would you go to church? Would you do all the things you do? If you didn't have faith, would you, like, let's just say you were digging a ditch. I always love talking about ditch digging. Okay, I know it sounds like a terrible thing, but let's just say every day you thought about digging a ditch, and every day you started digging, and you were going to dig a 10-mile ditch. If you had faith in that 10-mile project and digging that every day, you would be persistent at your action because you have faith. Without faith, if somebody said, hey, you got to dig a ditch that's 10 miles long, go. If you didn't have faith that that was possible, it would never be done. You'd never be persistent. You'd leave that. Your idea would be, you'd quit either 3 feet from gold, or you'd never even get started. See, without faith, you can't be persistent. So your goal, whatever you put up on the screen, 10,000 a month, 50,000 a month, $7 million, and you guys all had different numbers, whatever it is, you have to have faith that that can be yours. Because if you ever tell yourself that you can't, then that's exactly what will happen. You will not have that. If you said, I want $10,000 a month, but I don't think I can do that. That's a big number. If I want $7 million, I don't think I'll ever have $7 million. Guess what will happen? You will never have $7 million. You will never have $10,000. You will never, ever obtain that. But if every day you woke up And every day you thought about that 10,000 a month, every day you thought about that $7 million, every day you thought about that idea, that ditch, you would be persistent in your action in getting it. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen on your path. A lot of people telling you can't do that. So this right here that I'm talking about is creation. Okay, creation, you have to have faith. Okay, you have to have hope, and you have to be persistent. Okay, that's creation. When I created all the companies that I've created, when I've created anything, when I created this webinar, I had faith that this would work. Even though the first couple that we did, no one showed up, but I had faith that this would work. I remember when I was going to open my skateboard snowboard shop. Now, for some of you don't know, if you're here for the first time, and real quick, let me pause. How many of you are here for the very first time? Put I in the chat. Because I want to, we always get new folks, always got new people. We got 140 people. Yeah, there's a ton of new folks. Let me just kind of tell you something. So when I was 16 years old, when I was 14, I'll start there. When I was 14, I worked on a farm, and I loved every minute of it because it gave me money that I could then put gas in my dirt bike and my four-wheeler, and I could just go do the things that I wanted to do. And I worked on a farm. Now, when I was 16, I did what most 16-year-olds do. I went out and got a job, or at least back during my era, I went out and got a job, and I worked at a restaurant because that's who hired 16-year-olds. And I was a dish boy. And then I moved up. I moved the process up, and I got to be a prep cook at this one Italian restaurant. It's a well-known Italian restaurant in Lockport, New York. I'm not going to give the name. And every day I showed up to work, I was degraded. I was talked down to. I was made to feel like I was worthless every day. Do you think I wanted to go to work every day? Absolutely not. I dreaded it. I dreaded it. I never really told my mom about it, but I dreaded it. And I'll never forget the one day came, I showed up. I thought today was going to be a different day, and it wasn't. And I remember you get to a boiling point, and I just said, I quit. I told the guy, his name was Dominic. I said, I quit. And I remember I took my apron off because it was in a fit of rage, and I threw it, and they had an heirloom up on like where they put the food. My apron hit the heirloom, and it shattered on the ground, and I was out. But you see, I wasn't the type of kid, and actually I didn't come from a family where I could just come home and be like, Mom, I quit my job. So I had been thinking of this idea, this worthy idea in my mind for a long time. What I wanted to do is I wanted to start a clothing line, and I was going to start it. And I had all these doodles and drawings. It was called Fat Clothing Company, PHAT. I'd never really told my mom about it. She'd probably seen the drawings, but I had been working with my art teacher, Mr. Mahalski, and he agreed that, if I wanted to do this, he would help me print the shirts because he printed all the shirts for school. So he would take me in and show me how to screen print. Well, that day when I quit, I came home and I told my mom, hey, Mom, I'm going to open this clothing line. I'm going to print shirts with Mr. Mahalski. I'm going to sell them out of my backpack. When I go to the snowboard contest on the weekends, I'm going to sell them, to all the kids at the snowboard contest. In my mind, that was my worthy idea. And guess what? I thought about it every day. There wasn't a second of any day from that point on that isn't all that I thought about. New designs, new places to sell. And well, as you all may or may not know, that clothing line did go on to be a success. From 16 to 17, I had hired 3 seamstresses. I was literally designing and making my own custom snowboard gear. I was making my own shirts and sweatshirts and everything else. And I was selling them in school. I had recruited some of my friends in school by giving them free stuff, and they were selling them for me. And then I'd go to other schools, and I had people that were in bands, and they would be selling it, or they'd bring me in. I'd set up a table and sell my clothing at their concerts. And this is just how I did it over and over. But then something happened when I was selling my clothing on the road. I was wholesaling it at this point. And I was at this snowboard shop, and this one guy asked me, hey, Chris, do you want to go snowboard? And I kind of looked around. We were the only 2 in the shop. I was selling him my clothing. I was very excited because he was doing a nice order. Back then, a nice order, just so you all know, was like $500. Like today, that's nothing. But back then, $500, that was like, it might just as well have been 50 grand. That was one of the biggest orders. And he said, you want to go snowboarding? I'm like, well, I got to get home. When do you think you want to go? When's the shop closed? So I knew the shop closed at 5. He says, no, we'll go right now. And I'm kind of looking around, and there's nobody in the shop. And I'm like, how are we going to go right now? I'm thinking in my mind, like, well, somebody must be coming in. He says, no, I'll just close the shop. We'll go ride for a little bit. I know you got to get back. So let's go rip. So he did. He shut the door. At that point, I had a new worthy idea. You see, I thought my whole idea of a clothing line was great, but now, see, I could do my own clothing store. I could sell snowboards and skateboards. I could do this, and I could make my own clothes, sell them in my own shop, and have the freedom to go snowboard when I want. I could have employees come in instead of me always being the live or die methodology, where if I didn't sell a shirt, I didn't have money to pay the bills. That was my worthy idea. From that point on, what do you think I did? I had faith. I thought about that idea every day. I wasn't a day I didn't think about it. but I had a lot of struggles. You see, to open this store, Fat Man Board Shop, PHATMAN, Fat Man Board Shop, okay? To open that shop, I needed $70,000. And do you think I had $70,000 at 17 years old? No, I did not. And actually, I want to pull this up because that store is still in existence. So I always like talking about this because, you know, people can tell the story of anything, but I needed $70,000. So now I no longer own this store, but I did sell it. So I'm just going to pull it up. Here's the website, Fat Man Board Shops. This is the store that I created. These are the guys that I sold it to, but I got turned down, folks, by every single bank. They actually would laugh at me. I went to everybody in my family, my uncles, my father, and they all said the same thing, kind of like that movie, kid, you'll shoot your eye out. But you know what? I almost gave up on my dream, and I'll never forget. My mom knew that I was trying to do this, and I went to a bank, M&T Bank, and I came back and they said, how did it go? I said, not good. They said that they would give me an SBA-backed loan, but I need collateral. I didn't know what it meant, so I asked, and they said things of value. And I said, okay, I have a dirt bike, a baseball card collection, and this 1986 Buick Skyhawk. And they kind of laughed at me, but they said, if you can get collateral that will, you know, collateralize this loan, then we'll give you the loan. And I went back, and my mom knew what collateral meant. She knew that she had a house that she got in the divorce that was almost paid for, and she knew it was worth about $80,000. So that's where my mom put her house on the line so that I could chase my dream, so that my worthy idea could actually become real. You see, there wasn't a day that I ever gave up on myself. There wasn't a day that I ever gave up on my idea, but outside circumstances came in that made it almost impossible for my idea to happen. And somebody had to come in, and you only need one, folks, to do that. So why do I tell you all these stories? Why am I saying all this? I'll tell you why. You'll notice in all these couple stories that I just told you, every one of them, I was looking out the front window. I was always looking into the future. I was always looking at my idea that I wanted to accomplish. I was never looking in the rear view mirror at all the things that I'd failed at. I wasn't looking in the rear view mirror at how bad that Dominic guy treated me. I wasn't looking in the rear view mirror at all the things that I had done in the past that didn't work. I was only looking out the front window. Too many people today live in a world of fear. They live in a world of fear, which then creates them a world of conformity, where they conform to other people's ideas, where other people tell them they can't do something and they conform to that idea as their idea. When your mother or your spouse or your whoever, your friends say, oh, you should just do this. Oh, this is the best thing. You should do this. Because that's their dream. And then you conform and you just do this. I'm not going to get into all the stuff that's happened over the last couple of years, but just think about that conformity that happened over the last couple of years worldwide. But then think about the few people that actually created during that period of time. I created Fat Clothing Company. I created Fat Man Board Shops. I created things, but I also had to have someone that believed in me to make that deal happen. As you go through these learnings with these webinars and the YouTube channel that I have and everything else, however you get your knowledge, I want you to always focus on looking out the front window. Don't look in the rear view mirror. If you got in your car right now on a perfect bluebird day and you stared in the rear view mirror and you put your car in drive and you just hit the gas, what's going to happen, folks? You are going to crash. We don't drive our cars looking in the rearview mirror, but yet we live our lives looking in the rearview mirror, focused on the failures in our life, focused on all the bad things that happened in our childhood or when we were younger. There's therapists that constantly focus on all the bad and the fear and everything else. Folks, if you just change your focus, you plant a worthy idea in your mind, 10,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $7 million, whatever. And you never look out in the rearview mirror and you never listen to anyone else and you just push forward thinking about it day in and day out. How can anything else happen besides that goal? The answer is it can't. So with all that being said, stop thinking of why you can't do something and start thinking about how you can do it. And now let's get into how you can do it. Now, here's one of the things. I've done this training before, but this is something that I can't preface more than I like right now might be the best time right now to do this. Let me ask. How many of you on here have a 401k, a 403b, a TSP, or a 457 retirement plan? Just put I in the chat. How many of you have one? The majority of you. Okay? The majority of you do. Why? Because that shit's been shoved down our throat our whole lives. Our whole lives, we've been told, oh, that's what we should do with our money. Oh, you get a match. Oh, it's tax deferred. Oh, you get a tax deduction. I'm not going to go into why or why not a 401k may or may not be a good place to store your money. But the simple fact is we've been told a lie our whole life about how money works. And because of that, a lot of us, a ton of us actually, have 401ks. Me as well. When I worked in Wall Street, I had a 401k. How many of you honestly could tell me, Stephen, or Arthur that you know exactly what you're investing in inside your 401k? Put me in the chat. You know exactly what your money is invested in and what it is that you're investing in does. How many of you can tell me that about your 401k retirement plans? Probably not many, if any. You see, we invest in things we have no idea what they are, what they do. So what you need to do is you need to start investing in things you know, like, and understand. What is it that you know, like, and understand? You want to protect your wealth, know, like, and understand what you invest in. But most people, so we got Virginia is probably the only one that said she can. So she's probably got mutual funds. So she's probably read the prospectus and she can tell you that this mutual fund, XYZ fund, invests in these companies, in these sectors. And this is why I know, like, and understand these, which is why I invest in it. At least I hope Victoria could do that. But most people can't. But how many of you think right now, if all of you looked at your 401k statement, and I think you should, how many of you would tell me that you are at all-time highs, that you've made a bunch of money in the past couple of years? Just put a $sign in the chat. A bunch of you should put it. Actually, almost all of you should. We're at almost all-time highs in the stock market, which means all of you have done really well. Some of you made between 10 and 24% in the last year. All speculation in that. Look at Lucy and Ken. So you guys are all sitting on gains in your 401k. Now, how would you feel if literally those gains that you look at every day, those green arrows, those $signs that you look at, the profits, what if they were gone today? Would you care? Or tomorrow? What if they were gone tomorrow? Would you care? You would, right? So why don't we not allow that to happen? Why don't we just make it so that nobody can take your gains away? It's easy. All you need to do is sell. But let me give you, that's too easy. Let me show you what you should do, because if you sell, somebody's going to be like, oh, your money's just sitting lazy. It's not doing anything. It's got to work. So here's what I would suggest. Now, how many of you on here have debt of any type? A car loan, a home equity line of credit that's at maybe 9%. Maybe you got credit cards that are 20%. Yeah, right? Most of you on here have some form of debt. So most debt today starts at about 8% and goes up to almost 30%. By all intents and purposes, 8 to 29% is a good rate of return on your money, is it not? If I said to all of you that you could make 15 to 18%, would that be a good return? Yes. 15 to 18%? Yeah, look at that, of course. All right, so let's talk about a couple things. First off, you're sitting at all-time highs in your 401k. At least most of you are. Most of you have profits in your 401k that we don't want to give back, because you already all said you don't want to give that money back. So we need to make a return of, let's just say, anything more than 8%. Most of you that have a used car loan that you did in the last year are over 8%. Credit cards are higher than that. So what if I just kind of mock up some things over here and I say you got a car loan for $8,000 at $466 a month, but you got one of those good loans at 4.5%. You got a Visa with $10,000 on it. Just input your numbers, right, folks? $250 a month is the amount you're paying, and that's 18%. You got a MasterCard that's got $15,000. You pay $462 a month. That's 25%. Your Discover has $17,000 on it. That's $382. That's 15%. So if I were to add all that up, that's $1,560 every single month, okay? That you're giving away to your car loan, your Visa, your MasterCard, your Discover. Now, what I want to do here really quick is I just want to show you how to average this out, because this will be what will really put it into perspective. If we consolidate all of these loans, if we just add up all these interest rates, 4.5 plus 18 plus 25 plus 15 divided by four different loans, that is an average of 15.6%. Now, all of you said, sign me up if you wanted to make 15%, right? You all said that. Sign me up. I'll take 15%. I'll take 18%. You like those numbers. Great. You're giving away every single year 15.6% if this was a similar picture. But not only that, you're giving away cash flow that is leaving your family forever of $1,560. And most of you said you have a 401k that's sitting at all-time highs and you don't want to lose money. I'm just kind of just trying to repeat what you're thinking and what some of you said in the chats. Am I correct? Am I off on anything here? Stephen, am I missing anything here? Sounds pretty real, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah, I love
right.
it.
Robert said, oh yeah. All right. Here's what I would highly, highly like have all of you think about. This is your worthy idea right now. If any of this even remotely resembles you, call your 401k. Ask them if you can take out a loan. And if you can take out a loan, what I want you to do is ask them how much the interest rate is to take the loan out. Now, for this example, I just put 5%. Even if it's 8% or 9%, doesn't matter, because hear me out. But let's just, because I already have the numbers at 5%. So what you then do is you can take a max loan from your 401k. A max loan in any 401k, 457, 403b, TSP, I mean, they're all the same things. Qualified employer response or retirement plan, employer sponsored retirement plan is 50,000 or 50%, whichever is greater. So let's just go with 50 grand. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a loan from our 401k for $50,000. Now, here's the negative. If you take a loan from your 401k, from your next paycheck, the 401k provider is going to deduct the amount of the payment to repay that 50 grand. Now you pick the term of the payments. You might say, all right, I want 5 years. I want 3 years, whatever. You're in charge of picking the term. The rate, they pick that. It's based on prime. So it's probably higher than 5. So if you took a loan for 50 grand, okay, and it was at 5%, you did it for 5 years, your monthly payment's $944 a month. If you're paid biweekly, divide that by 2. Everybody understands how this works, right? That's bad. Your paycheck just went down by roughly $944 a month. So we can't just stop there. What we need to do is we need to send that money out to work. But I want to preface something that happened here that maybe all of you understood. Insert disclaimer here. Yeah, so the disclaimer is, if you take a loan from your 401k, you're going to have money coming out of your paycheck every single month, okay? Or I'm sorry, every pay period, you're going to have money coming out. They're going to charge interest on that money that you take from the 401k. If you get fired or leave your job or get laid off, all of that money will have to be repaid, and usually they'll give you a term. There's your disclaimer, okay? That's the bad. So thanks, Brad. Thanks for catching that. So that's the disclaimer. So consult with your CPA or financial advisor to make sure that this makes sense for you. I'm just giving you the math. $944, $50,000. When you sold or when you decided to take that loan, here's what has to happen. Your 401k provider, whoever it is, Fidelity, Vanguard, Principal, T. Rowe Price, they have to liquidate your mutual funds or your investments to the tune of $50,000. So they are going to force sell your positions to the tune of 50,000 bucks. Now, if any of you are thinking that's a bad thing, I need you to really think about what we've been talking about, because you're selling high. Now, I don't know that it's that case for everybody, but for most of you, if you sold today $50,000 of funds from your 401k, you'd be profiting. So you've locked in the profits. You now have $50,000 in your hand. What if you took that 50 grand, you came over here, I'll just come over to this side, and you paid off the car loan, okay? You paid off Visa. You paid off the MasterCard. You paid off the Discover. I just conveniently made these equal $50,000. You paid all of these off, all the debts that you used to pay $1,560 every single month. That's how much you used to give them. So 50 grand came over to this side, went from your 401k to now it paid off your debts. You then take this $1,560 and you send that money back to your 401k, or you only send $944 back. It doesn't matter. That is the same as you making 15.6%, because you were giving away 15.6. Now, a lot of people would be like, wait a second, if my 401k costs me 5 or 8%, why would I pay off a loan for 4.5? Cash flow, baby. Because when you average it out, it works out to be 15.6. People get hung up on these little details. They get hung up on, I'm not going to pay off a 4.5% loan when I got to borrow at 5%. That doesn't make any sense, Chris. It doesn't make any sense at all. I'm not done yet. It makes all the sense in the world. And I don't need a disclaimer for that. Okay, so you take this $1,560 and you put it back as a loan repayment to your 401k. So you're essentially paying down the loan that you took from your 401k. The loan, which they charged you 5%. And if you paid it back over 5 years, if it took you all 5 years, you would have given back $56,610. But you would have saved $1,560 every single month. Now, here's the thing. How much, I just went through a bunch of numbers. All I want to know is, what return did you make on your money in this scenario? Who can tell me in the chat? I'll send you a t-shirt. Who can tell me what return I made? All the numbers are there. Okay, somebody said 10.6, okay. Who else? The numbers are there. Remember when we averaged out all your credit cards, they were 15.6. The loan cost you 5%. What percentage are you making on it? Wait, who's Rick? All right, Rick's got it. Rick got it first. I think, is Rick the first one? Rick, can you email or put in the private message your address? Did I get that right? 15.6 plus 5? Yeah, 20.6. That's the right one. Troy almost got it, but he was off a percentage. So 20.6. Rick Smith. Email us your address and your shirt size. Stephen, make sure you take that down and give it back to me at the end. Does anyone know how I got that? 20.6. Ken knows how. But some of you were saying 10 and 15. It's simple. We repaid debts, which you were giving away 15.6% on an average. We no longer owe these debts. We're putting that money back to your 401k. But your 401k was charging you 5% interest on that loan. What I didn't tell you that some of you figured out, it is simple addition, but a lot of people didn't realize that the 5% interest or 8% or whatever your 401k charges, that money is going back in your account. So you had to sell $50,000 worth of your investments to free the money up so you could take the loan. They charged 5% or whatever your rate is. When you paid the loan back, the 5% goes back to you. Plus you recaptured 15.6% you gave away. So 15.6 plus 5 is 20.6. You made 20.6% on your money. Every one of you were happy with 15 to 18%. This person, in this scenario, made more. What are your numbers? So one of the worthy ideas that I want you to think about tonight after this webinar is I want you to look at your 401k, call your 401k provider, ask them, what does a loan cost? Can you take a loan from your 401k? Most allow it, not all, but most. What is the interest rate? Write that interest rate number down, because you know that that interest rate that they're charging you on the loan, when you repay the loan, every pay period, that's money going back into your account. That is a guaranteed return for the most part, as long as you pay your 401k back. You are the only one that can mess that up. Not Wall Street, not the dude, not Jerome Powell, just you. So the return is in your hands. You control that return. When you pay the credit cards off, you control that return. The only thing you have to do is just add up the amount you were giving away to them that you used to pay them and put it back to your 401k. It's simple. It's all automated. It's the same dollars. You don't have to work any harder any longer or take on any additional risk. Does that make sense? Because it's pretty simple in my mind. Maybe I'm just a logical thinker, but that just makes all the sense in the freaking world. But yet I got to ask, how many of you will actually do this? How many of you will actually call your 401k? How many of you will actually go in and tally up all your debts, your credit cards? And how many of you will actually take the loan from your 401k, pay off the debts, and set up through your 401k company an automatic repayment for the exact same amount you were giving away to the credit cards? Some of you were asking about, how do I sign up for this challenge, the Earl Nightingale Strangest Secret in the World challenge? You don't sign up. You see, in life, not everything has to be signed up for. You had to sign up for this webinar, but you don't have to sign up for financial success. You just have to take action. You have to have an idea. Folks, I just spoon-fed you an idea. This is just one of many of the ideas. I just spoon-fed you an idea. The thing that will make the 5% different than the 95% is the action. So you all wanted a challenge. How many of you will take this challenge right here and right now and actually do the work and have faith that this is going to work for you? And because of faith, be persistent in doing everything I just showed. How many of you will do this? In the chat, put yes. And do not lie to me. This is not everybody's scenario, but I'm just trying to paint the picture. This is how you start building wealth. We say it all the time. We say it all the time. The fastest way to create wealth is through your own debts and expenses. It is always the fastest path. There is no faster way to create wealth. Okay, but some of you, and this is all by design, so some of you in the chat are saying, yeah, but I don't have debt. I don't have this. I don't have that. Okay, I tricked a lot of you, okay, because I got you all, I planted an idea in your head that you don't know, 15 and 18%. And then I just happened to make my numbers work to be 15.6% on the debts. But then I knew that some of you would be on here and would say, I don't have any debts. I pay off all my credit cards. I don't have, now I can't help you if you don't have a 401k, but the next round, what we're going to go to next is exactly built for you. You don't have a 401k, you don't have any debts, but you like the idea of making 15 to 18%. And I'm sure Arthur likes that idea too, who we're going to bring on in just a second when I give you an intro. Now, let's take that same idea, but let's just change the name on the vehicle where your money goes. All of you, to be successful, and all of you are successful, you wouldn't be on here if you're not. Like you always notice, like here's the unique thing, and Stephen can contest this. We don't have slackers that show up to the webinar. We don't work with people that are not action takers. We don't work with people that aren't saving money. I played that Dave Ramsey video because Dave Ramsey, works with a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of times I can't help people that live paycheck to paycheck because in order to be your own bank, if you're starting from ground floor with what I'm going to show you, you have to be saving money. And usually the minimum should be about 10% because that's the law. Law number one of wealth, save 10% of the money you make. Okay. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me to this, but I'm just trying to recite what I've read. It's in the Bible, something about 10% must be saved. Okay. So anyway, 10%. So the question then comes to, where are you putting the money that you save? Most people will say, okay, it goes into the 401k, which is why I started there. Great. So we're done with that. Other people will say, I put it in the bank. Other people will say, I give it to my financial advisor. Other people will say, I put it into a brokerage. Where else does anyone else put their money? Real quick, just in the chat, help me out a little bit. Got 160 people. Where are you guys putting your money? I think the 10% from the Bible is tithes. Yes, it is, but there's also something about saving 10%. Whole life. So a whole bunch of you are already way ahead of the curve. So all I'm talking about is an idea, a worthy idea that I did not create. I learned from somebody else, that then learned from somebody else, that has been around for hundreds of years, that has been talked about and used by some of the wealthiest families in history, privatized banking. And all that is changing where that money goes. So changing where your money goes, instead of putting it in somebody else's bank, a brokerage account, or other places that involve risk, we put it into a vehicle that most people would normally, before they learn, hate, called whole life insurance, a life insurance policy. A life insurance policy called whole life that Dave Ramsey says is the worst place you can put your money. That a guy on Facebook right before I came on here said only 1% of the people out there should put money into a whole life policy. Okay, so where do the 99%? Where should they put their money? He'd probably say the S&P 500 or something else, or maybe crypto. Oh, let's put it into crypto because the SEC approved the ETF that they were going to do. Oh wait, did the SEC approve that or did they not? I don't know. Was that just a scam? Was that just somebody breaking into the SEC? Anyway, we covered that on WTF. If any of you haven't figured it out, they have not yet approved the Bitcoin ETF. I'm sure they will, but that was false information. But a lot of people threw their money into Bitcoin because of that. So let's say you put your money into a specially designed. We're going to build it just like the banks build BOLI. BOLI is bank-owned life insurance, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing I just showed you. I'm going to actually draw it kind of a similar way because this is what I just showed you, and I've never done it this way. So I'm going to test this out just like before, okay? I'm going to draw this like you looked at the 401k because you got used to that. So we put our money into this whole life. Now, it doesn't matter how you put your savings in. Now, maybe some of you have a bunch of money saved. Somebody might have 50K saved, but they're only saving $500 a month, okay? So let's use that example. Somebody has 50K that's in a savings account. So what they do is they dump in $50,000 into this specially designed whole life. And then every single month, they save $500 a month. Why would it be those dollar amounts? Because that's what that person was doing. So whatever your numbers are, folks, whatever your number is, Keisha or Sean or Rick or anybody on here, insert your numbers. Doesn't matter if they're large or small. The minimum to do what I'm about to show you, just let's get the bad news out, is basically take your age. So I'm 45, multiply that times 10. I always say just take your age and add a 0, okay? 450. That's my number. 450 is 10 times my age. That's my minimum monthly amount that I can save in this program. If you can't save at least 10 times your age, this won't work yet, okay? So hence, what I was saying earlier, usually our audience, this audience here, are people that are saving money because it doesn't work if you can't. So let's just go with the 50 and the 500, okay? Let's say somebody's got 50 grand and they're saving 500. Now, 50 grand inside of a whole life policy is going to make you anywhere between 5.2 and, Stephen, what was the Guardian that went to 5.85?
They're all around 5.5, yeah.
Yeah, 5.85. So the reason I'm saying that is I just like going in the middle with dividends, guaranteed interest and dividends. Most of the insurance companies right now are paying a rate of 5.5%, give or take, with dividends, okay? So just use that. That's your gross amount you're earning before cost of insurance, before our commissions, and before policy service fees. All those fees Dave Ramsey talks about, getting them right out of the way. So you put 50 grand in, and your 50 grand is earning 5.5% minus the expenses. Great. How many of you would be excited about that? Most of you right now can make 5% in a money market. Some of you right now are getting 5% or close to that in your savings account. So are you really excited about 5.5%? Probably not. But you're right. Sean said it's uninterrupted. Secondarily, the part of this is guaranteed, will never change. So let's just use the guaranteed portion as 3.3 to 325. Guaranteed for the rest of your life. It can never change. Your bank account certainly can change. It can go from 5 to 0 overnight when the Fed comes out and says, hey, we're dropping rates to 0. This new pandemic that comes in when the storms blow through and, you got this windstorm or this hurricane and all of a sudden everybody gets sick. Anyway, conspiracy theory shit. But anyway, that can never change. So you've got this 50 grand earning that, but that doesn't get you excited because all of you want to make 15 to 18%, right? But you want to make 15 to 18% with as little risk as possible. So we want to mitigate the risk and we want to try to keep this money as liquid as possible. We want as many things as we can get over here. We'll take as much as we can get. So let's just say we had a place. You didn't have debt. I already showed you the debt, but we found a place where you could put your money. Would you not want to move the 50,000 from your whole life over to this? Now, a lot of people, when they think about this, they think, yeah, well, I either want the whole life or I want that investment, whole life or investment. But what if you could have them both, whole life and the investment? And you could have the benefits of both, that you could have the death benefit over here, the uninterrupted compounding interest. Okay, you could have all of these things. And then all you'd have to do is exactly what I showed you with the 401k. You go online, okay, you take a loan from your policy. You put 50 grand in, you take a loan for 50 grand. So now you got 50 grand. So 50 grand over here could go into this investment if we had an investment that would earn 15 to 18%. So 50,000 bucks. When you took that money from the insurance company is going to charge you interest. Right now, it's a little under 5% for most of the companies we deal with. So similar numbers to what we talked about with the 401k example. But here's the difference. When you took the money out of the 401k, the stocks had to be sold. The mutual funds had to be sold. So that money came out of the market. It's earning nothing until you send it to work, paying off the debts. In the whole life, when you take the 50 grand from the policy, that's not your 50 grand. The insurance company subtracts the 50,000 from your death benefit. So if you started with 500,000 in death benefit and you took a loan for 50, how much do you have left? 450 if you were to die the next day. So they're advancing you 50 grand from your death benefit. They're charging you simple interest of 5%. But what's cool now is you still have 50,000 earning that interest in dividends. Okay, I'll just get rid of the number because it's not even important. You got 50 grand earning interest and dividend uninterrupted while you got 50 grand in your hand. The 50 grand in your hand costs 5%. So if we had an investment that was going to pay us 15%, okay, let's just use that simple math. 15 minus 5 means we net 10. But we don't net 10. We net 10 here, but we still make whatever the interest and dividend is over here. You see, now you have your money in a place that's earning interest and dividends uninterrupted, and you have the investment paying you interest. And the only thing in the middle is the cost of that loan from the insurance company. And the loan from the insurance company, unlike the loan from the 401k, essentially really never needs to be paid back because they just gave you part of your death benefit. The insurance company doesn't give a crap if you ever pay that 50 grand back because they're just going to take it from the death benefit that they got to pay out someday when you die. And what's the two certains in life? Death and taxes. Now, I want to be considerate of Arthur's time, but I want to go one step further. If you had something like this and you put took that money out and you put 50 grand into something earning 15, we know we make 10 plus whatever the interest and dividend is in your policy. Okay, so whatever interest and dividend is, where would you put the interest that's paid to you from this investment? Who can tell me, where would you put that money? So let's just say you gave me 50 grand and I paid you 15% a year. And every month I sent you a check. So every month you received a check. Where are you going to put that check? Okay, Rick said back in the policy, but Rick's been around the campfire too long. Where would most of you put that money? Back to my bank. I love that. Freddie, that's the answer I was looking at. Most people would take the interest that they earn. Okay, so we'll just do this, and they would put it back in their bank. Now, maybe he was talking about his bank, because remember, this is you being your own bank. But most people, because they've been conditioned, when they get new money, they put it in whose bank? Somebody else's, Wells Fargo or JP Morgan, or they put it in someone else's bank. But see, I got to get you to plant that worthy idea and stop thinking about someone else's failed idea. It wasn't a failed idea. The banking industry is a pretty good idea. But I want you to think about you being the bank. That's your worthy idea. So you put 50 grand into an investment, it pays you interest. Let's take the interest that we earn every month and let's put it back into our policy, our bank. By doing that, what are we doing? We're paying the loan down. And when we pay the loan down, what does that mean? We're paying less interest to the insurance company every single month. But are we making any less? No, we're making exactly the same. Are we making any less over here? Nope, we're actually making more over here because it's compounding. So we're making exactly the same, but we're paying less because we're paying the loan down. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. When you take that interest that you earned on the investment, you put it back into the policy, you have access to 100% of whatever that interest payment is the second your check clears. So did you lose access to any of your money by you being the bank, by you doing this? It's a circle, folks. All I did is I just drew a circle, a big old circle, a circle where your money started on the left side, went over to the right side to work, whether it's debts, paying off cars or investments, and then the interest or whatever the recaptured amount was ended up in the same place it came from. I hope some of you are picking up what I'm putting down, because have you ever heard that if somebody got $1 million, there's like a high chance, like a 90+% chance that all that money ends up back in the hands of the same people or whatever that is? You know, all the wealth in the world, if it was all given to just the citizens of the US, if all the wealth in the US was given to the citizens of the US, all the money would end up back in the same hands that gave them the money. Do you think they understand this? They control the flow of the money, which means it always ends up in the same place. I want you all to plant that worthy idea in your mind that that place is your bank, that your bank is a specially designed whole life that we build for you, that your bank is exactly the same as you becoming the bank, because you control it. Breaking news, this just in. Are you sick of having your money lying around not doing anything? Well, we've got the solution for you. PrivateMoneyClub.com. Back to you, Chris. But I want to kind of just give a quick summary of my guest, because this is a really unique one. And I went a little bit long, but we got Arthur on here. Now, because it's playoff seasons, because the Bills are now in the playoffs, and Steven, you know, who are you rooting for in the playoffs?
Right here, baby. Let's go Steelers.
Steelers, shit. So Steelers and the Bills play this weekend. Great. So Steven's not going to like me come next week when the Bills kick the shit out of the Steelers. But anyway, everybody loves football, okay? Or for the most part, and everybody's this weekend going to be watching their favorite teams, rooting for their favorite teams. Buffalo Bill fans are going to be jumping off their vans onto tables, trying to hurt themselves. It's the mafia thing. But the cool part is we all really are hyper-focused on football. Well, Arthur here spent a lot of time with football, and I want to kind of just give him some time to explain it, because I think there's a unique thing, you know, about any athlete, especially athletes that make it to the NFL. There's a lot of prep that goes on before. We always see them in the limelight when they're playing on the field and the lives they live, the fancy cars and everything else, but we don't ever understand the work that goes in to get there. Well, Arthur was in the NFL, and I want him to talk a little bit about that. But then, as all athletes have to deal with, at a certain point, that dream comes to an end. Whether it's an injury, or you just age out, or somebody better, you just can't compete, or you just change focus. Well, Arthur had that happen too, but I want Arthur to first talk about a little bit about his NFL, you know, getting to the NFL, what it was like being in the NFL. You make a lot of money as a pro NFL player, but then after, you got to figure out how to keep that flow going, because Arthur, how old were you when you retired?
I think 26, 27.
So think
27,
about that. 27.
28. I'm not really sure. 1996, put it that way.
All right. So we'll call it 27, 28 years old. Like he's got the rest of his life. Like they make a lot of money playing ball, but also like a lot of them spend a lot of money. So you come out of, your sport that you thought you were going to be able to do your whole life, and all of a sudden it ends. And now you got to figure out how from 27 or 28 to the day you die, you're going to provide an income. Now, people like Arthur are really smart. They find that path, that new calling, that new worthy idea, and they go down that path and they do that. And I think his story is really unique, and it also has some twists. Some things happen that weren't expected, some bumps in the road, but some people, it crushes them, it ruins them. Other people, it makes them stronger. Arthur is one of them, it made him stronger. And then Arthur has done something. He's found a path. He's found a unique opportunity that he put his own money in. And then he started thinking, hey, if this is really great, and he's been doing it for a long time, he's like, why don't other people know about this? And then he figured out how to talk to other people about it. Now, me and my wife, just in full disclaimer, me and my wife are investing in what we're going to talk about at the end. Okay. We did it. We are, I don't know when our first check comes. I think February is our first check that comes in because we just started. But I just want everybody to know, do your own due diligence. But I just want you to know we did ours. We invested, and pretty soon we'll start getting checks. You can kind of tell everybody a little bit about your journey.
Chris, I want to thank you for your masterclass, and I appreciate your masterclass on finance every week. Learned a lot from you. Found you online looking up certain things about being your own bank that my nephew introduced me to about a year ago. And I talked to Carson and Steven, and once we kind of had our conversation, you and I connected, did the mastermind in Vegas, and met with you and Brent in the group there, and it was great. It was great. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Football, you're welcome. University of Georgia, go Dogs. I played at University of Georgia in the late 80s, graduated in the early 90s, played pro football for 5 years, 2 years with the Denver Broncos, 3 years with the New York Giants. Injured my back, could not really play anymore, had to retire. And I was a real estate major at the University of Georgia. I was recruited by Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, Minnesota, Georgia Tech, and decided to go to Georgia because they had a real estate program. So graduated, played football. When I retired from football, didn't know what I was going to do. Had a real estate background, but you're consistently, even though I knew I was injured, I was still looking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to make money? Back then, you didn't make as much money as the guys make now, but you don't want to let it go. You still want to say, hey, I can play. I can play. Even though you're injured and you really can't, you think you can, and it's difficult to move on. So I kind of floundered around for a couple of years doing this or doing that. And I finally sat in and said, you know what, I'm going to do real estate. I had a real estate company, mortgage company, and I made more money doing real estate than I did playing football. Made a lot of money playing football, but not the big money. And I became a millionaire in real estate. Market crashed, lost a lot of money, didn't complete applications correctly like I thought I did, got in trouble with the feds, and they came looking. And I ended up having to, because of my celebrity status as an athlete, and because of being in the state of Georgia, number one place for mortgage fraud, they were looking for people to hang hats on and say, hey, we have somebody who did something wrong. And I ended up doing 5 years in federal prison for bank fraud. That's something I didn't even know I was guilty of. And I knew I was innocent and I was going to fight the charge. And next thing you know, they're like, put it this way, without putting things out there too much, a lot of threats went out and kind of forced you to take a deal that you know you did not guilty of. And so I fought my case the whole time I was doing time. And when I got out, probably a month after I got out, the appeals court said, hey, you're right. You have to go back to court and defend yourself. They did you wrong. But I'm out of prison by then. I'm like, this is bull crap. What kind of crap is this? And it wasn't about the truth. It was about finding someone to say, we have someone who did something wrong and look what we're doing. And the federal government told me to my face, if you weren't a professional football player and a big fish in a small pond, we would have never bothered you. I'm like, well, I said, how is that justice? How are you telling me this and ruining my life? At least I thought at the time. And just because for political reasons, for propaganda to say you have somebody. So anyway, fought the situation, didn't let it deter me, went through a lot of crap during that time, started back over in the real estate and did it again. Ended up making more money than I did before. I would help a lot of people. I would bless a lot of people. My focus was giving. It wasn't to take or receive or see what I could do for myself. And I've always been a man of God. And as I continued to grow spiritually and learn about certain things, I've always been pretty smart or pretty sharp with things. I was a straight A student in high school, honors graduate, did well at the University of Georgia. And I taught real estate classes, showed people how to do it. I've done all types of real estate, residential development, construction, mortgages, finance. I've done pretty much everything in residential real estate as far as development process as well. So after doing that, I met a lot of people and had a lot of assets before my situation with the feds. I was actually a billionaire. A partner of mine, we owned a gold and onyx mine in Mare, Arizona that had honey onyx, gold, copper, all kind of stuff. And my attorney actually duped me for my assets and helped send me to federal prison for his financial gain that I didn't know. I was green, I didn't know. I'm thinking he's helping me. So it was a big thing that I had to experience and go through for financial situations, for people being greedy, and for what the feds considered a feather in their cap. But the whole time, I just got stronger and stronger. My mentality became impenetrable. I was at the highest of the high and the lowest of the low. I was not going to let that situation define me. Regardless of what people thought and said, I knew I was innocent. But I wasn't going to let the stigma or that moniker define me or deter me. So I became better. I grew. I got stronger. And in that process, I helped. A friend of mine came to me. I lived on Miami Beach at the time. I live in Florida now, Sarasota, Florida. So I have the palm trees and the water behind me, ocean behind me. And he came to me when I lived in Miami Beach and said, hey, there's a bond program that we can get involved in. Let's raise some money for this bond program, and it's paying out a fixed return. I'm like, dang, that's a nice return. He said, well, I need some help. Would you want to help me with it? And he was a finance officer in New York on Wall Street. He had moved down to take care of his mom that was sick in Tamarack in South Florida. And I said, you know what? I'll help you, but I'm gonna put my money in real estate in Port Charlotte in the Gulf Coast of Florida. So we started the fund, the family and friends and family fund. I did real estate, and as it continued to grow from 2018 to 2019 to 2020, 2021, I got back involved in 2022 and put my own money in there. So, okay, let's take it to another level. And as it grew, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a nice scenario. I don't have to sweat the returns. I can make money, and it's like it's residual almost. It's a promissory note. It's a fixed income opportunity. A fixed income fund is different from a hedge fund. A hedge fund is more risky, has more risk involved. You're hedging against something. A fixed income fund is almost like an annuity, very similar to. You invest your resources, you get a promissory note, you're a lender, not a borrower. That was one of the things that I was telling Stephen and Carson on my call about the infinite banking. Stephen was saying, so you're going to put how much into the fund, into the infinite banking, the whole life policy? It was a high six-figure number. He said, and what are you going to do? Well, when I get the money out, I'm going to put it in the fund and do blank, blank, blank. And he said, well, you need to talk to Chris. That's when you and I met, came here, shared it with you and Shauna and the whole group. And some of you guys invested and want to see those returns. And a fixed income fund is something I would highly recommend to individuals. The difference is this: you have to think out of the box when it comes to investing. You have to know, if you know people who have invested in something that gets a great return, thinking out of the box helps. You think out of the box, Chris, and taking that return from when you borrow from yourself and you need a vehicle to invest in, a fixed income fund, which is a consistent fund with a promissory note, is ideal. The returns are significant, and it's not the 4% annually that a bank wants to give you, or 3% CD, even an aggressive 8%, something else. Is just, I'm like, that's not really doing any good. I can make more money invested in real estate than I can doing that. So as I diversified and I saw the returns that we were getting, I'm like, this is incredible. So we partnered we started making the products available to a registered investment advisor in Texas, another group in Florida. And I don't own those funds, but I work with the products that the fund does, the funds use to get that kind of return. And so we kind of wanted to make it available for individuals to participate in. And that's how we kind of got to the point of getting good, high, consistent returns.
Do you think we could do a walk? Because I know there's a portal, and that's
Sure.
something that I think is really awesome, because it's got a lot of education about what this fixed income fund is.
100%.
Could we show them the portal, and then like
Yes,
just
sir.
anyone that wants, he's got a great portal he's created. There's a portal just for general public, and then once you are an investor, there's another portal where it shows your investment, your returns, and everything else. But the portal is really cool because it's got all the videos. So I know we were talking about it. Shauna loved it. So I just thought this would be a great thing to show now.
This is the website or landing page for the portal. I would highly recommend, as individuals go to this site, to watch that video. What we did was, all the videos are not very long. If you watched all the videos on the portal and landing page, you're probably talking about less than 20 minutes of videos, but they're very educational. They explain the whole process. So if you watch that fixed income fund video, just kind of gives you an introduction. You see predictable income with promissory notes off to the left, monthly passive income with interest of 12.5 to 18% annually. So this landing page or website here kind of just goes through the process, what you're looking at, bond underwriting and processing. I'll go over that more in a second. Investor objectives, how it works, purchase a promissory note, get monthly direct payments, spend your time doing what you love. That's the main thing. Quality of life is what it's about to me. It's not how much money. Well, you want to make a lot of money, but quality of life is what I'd recommend people focus on. And with your investments, earning that for you. And so I'm gonna do something special for this group here today, but because I have the ability to do so through the fund itself. Investment structure kind of shows you the amount of investment, annual return, paid monthly, kind of reemphasizes it here. This video kind of educates you and just directs you to the portal to where you can log in for free. Doesn't cost you anything. You're not giving up any information, email, whatever. But when you log into the portal, register for the portal, and you click to the portal, what happens is that all you have to do once you register, this is available. So you have a welcome video, then you have a fund overview. The fund overview is the secret sauce of how money is made, how the fund makes money.
Could we play that real quick? Because I know it's a shorter video. I think this is a good one to play.
I have the privilege of presenting to you a unique investment opportunity, our fixed income fund. At the heart of our fund lies a fixed return achieved through a meticulously crafted business model. We earn fees for the underwriting and processing of a portfolio of financial instruments, including commercial debt, municipal and government bonds, asset-backed securities, and mortgage-backed securities. The fixed income fund's income generation is unique because it is not predicated on the market performance of the instruments that are processed and underwritten. Consistent income is generated throughout each month from processing commercial and chattel paper for the Depository Trust and Clearing Company, also referred to as DTC. DTC pays a fixed statutory fee within a 3 to 5 day period. The return is based on the volume and face value of bonds that are underwritten and processed. This allows us to predict and measure the return on investment, eliminating speculation in the process. This is why market performance of the instruments underwritten and processed does not determine whether the fund generates income. This means that stability and profitability are maintained across market conditions, ensuring that underwriting services are paid consistently. Feel free to look up Depository Trust and Clearing Company, DTC. They are a member of the United States Federal Reserve System and the world's largest central securities depository, based in New York's financial district. This investment product boasts an impressive target return on investment between 12.5% and 18% per annum, catering to a diverse investor base. Our target is accredited investors, individuals sophisticated enough to understand and navigate a fixed income fund and its investments. Our strategy is as clear as it is effective. Aggregated capital is used to acquire significant portions of wholesale securities paper. This strategy is aimed at maximizing operational scale, thus improving efficiency and enhancing profitability in the underwriting process. Our investors directly benefit from our earned fees. We believe this to be an exceptional business model. The business model is a testament to this wisdom, offering stable earnings and a hedge against market volatility. Our competitive edge is based on 4 key capabilities: deal sourcing, specialization, due diligence, and diversification. Our team has over 50 years of combined experience in treasury, wealth management, and business strategy. This is one of our greatest assets. Our advisors are the pillars of our operational excellence, with NAV Consulting, our third-party administrator and accounting firm, and Ritchie May & Company, one of the leading audit firms in alternative investments and our auditor, providing unparalleled fund administration and business advisory services. Our structure and investment terms are crafted to align our interests with those of our investors. This is not just a policy, it's a principle. Participation is straightforward. Complete the promissory note, submit your investment, and track your performance through your personalized NAV account. We pride ourselves on transparency. It's not just an investment, it's an opportunity. In the words of a Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. We believe that our fixed income fund represents a strategic, robust, and diversified investment opportunity. We welcome you to join us on this journey. For further details, please refer to our Contact Us section. And don't forget to review our entire fixed income portal.
I want to point out, like, one of the things when I first saw this that I liked is you're not directly investing in, you're not buying any investment. You know, you're investing in a company that's servicing, they're providing a service to the DTC. So essentially the returns, you know, because a lot of people would see the returns 12.5 to 18 plus the bonus on the end, and they'd say, wow, those are really good. How do you generate them? They charge fees. They charge fees to the DTC for, you know, basically going through and doing this due diligence. I don't want to call it due diligence, but what you do for the DTC on the shadow paper and the commercial paper. So it's not like going out and buying real estate or not, you know, you're not investing in something. They're just doing a service. And the more money they raise for doing that, the more they can take on. And then they're just getting paid a fee. And that's the other thing too. And I want to make sure you talk about the liquidity feature. That was something I really honed in on, and my attorney honed in on too, is, hey, Chris, if you want to get out of this thing, you can. Here's the kick out. You know, so there's liquidity because every 3 to 5 days you guys are getting paid. So those are some of the things I like. Now, I'm again not endorsing or, you know, recommending this. I'm just telling everybody I did it. And I think, did Shauna end up doing hers?
Yes, sir. Shauna.
Okay, so me and Shauna, 2 very risk-averse people, have both done it, you know, but we did our homework and our due diligence on it, and all of you should do the same. So I'll keep going.
On the portal, you can also go and see a sample statement of what individual would have access to. You log into the portal here and do it, or to our third-party administrator, NAV, and it'd be a ongoing month-to-date, quarter-to-date, year-to-date analysis there. Close that thing out. You also have, there's 2 different funds that are available. One is the 506C, Reg D 506C, which is only for accredited investors. And you also have a Reg D 506B that is for non-accredited and accredited investors. An accredited investor, which is explained in one of the videos on our process here, if you go to the investor education tab, there's videos. What is a fixed income? What is a fixed income? Should be what is a fixed income fund. ABCs of a promissory note. What is an accredited investor? How to verify you are an accredited investor, and what is DTCC and how does it work? So the components that are necessary to understand what we do and how it's done is very transparent. As you come back to the sample documents again, if you are an accredited investor and you want to verify it, you can by using one of these sample letters. But if you want to, and both of the funds are the same. One's just a 506C, one's just a 506B. The difference is that the 506C you can advertise, the 506B you can't. I can talk about it because I'm not a principal of the fund itself. And so the portal was designed to educate individuals, so there's no guesswork. You can meet the team of the fund. Dave Speck has an extensive background in funds and in finance. Ishnell Henry also. Lena Suarez, Simon Rebels. There's also other people behind the scenes, but those are the main cast of characters. That's pretty much a gist on the fund itself. You can contact them by filling out the email and sending information in or doing the contact us part. But the DTC, the way the fund makes money is essentially, and you can go to once you go to the portal, the landing page rather, you can register at the bottom for the portal and have access to this and see it yourself. So you don't need that to do so. The question you wanted me to go over, Chris, what was it you wanted me to discuss again, talk about?
Oh gosh, I had a bunch of.
DTC? About the fee?
DTC, yeah.
Yeah.
Like just basically like what it is this company does and what they get paid a fee for. I think that's just important for what service they're providing to the DTC.
The thing about DTC has probably 40 trillion plus assets in their portal at any given time. So I think 3.5 million transactions a day. DTC is who all the banks go to buy instruments. In order to purchase those instruments, somebody has to process or underwrite these financial instruments before they go to the DTC portal to be purchased by banks or other financial institutions that they sell to clients or anybody else. What you're seeing is that behind the scenes of what how the banks make their money and the way the banks go get their financial instruments. So what the fund does is they process chattel paper. Chattel paper is essentially anything that has an interest and collateral. It could be a mortgage, it could be a car loan, it can be financing for jewelry, for art. Anything that has collateral is considered chattel paper, and they typically pay out more money or more fees for chattel paper. Other things are bonds, municipal bonds, government bonds, driver's licenses are bonds, birth certificates are bonds, credit card debt is a bond. So all those things that are bonded, they get paid to process those things. So it's not based on the financial industry and what the market is doing. It's based on the face value of the documents or the instruments they're processing, and DTC pays them within 3 to 5 days, and their check process is like every 10 days. So it's an ongoing process. It's not something that's put up and you're not making money on. Now, the one thing about it is that funds are locked up for 18 months in this process. So if you invest and get a promissory note, they're using those funds for 18 months to generate capital, to pay you out, and to make money themselves. So it's a great way to take your infinite banking whole life return of money that you're borrowing from yourself and put in a fixed income fund to cover whatever that interest may be and to make a profit for yourself, which is why I did it, which is why I'm doing the IBC. And for the most part, that's pretty much the gist of it. This is how it operates. Now, where do you get resources? I saw you talking about 401ks earlier.
Yeah, I figured.
401ks, self-directed IRAs, people that have rollover accounts from previous jobs that aren't being used. You can invest in a fixed income fund with those resources. Put it in your IBC, get the money out, invest in a fixed income fund. It's just a tool that you and I talked about, we want to make available to your group, to your people that follow you or that looking for opportunities to do something with their resources that is extremely low risk. Actually, Google fixed income fund. What's the difference between a fixed income fund and a hedge fund? What is a fixed income fund? A safe investment? Just look and see what you can find on Investopedia or anyone out there, and they give you an idea of what's available. Typically, the minimum investment is $50,000. There are scenarios you can go below 50 to minimum of 25, but 50 is what the funds are typically looking for. Because I have pool and consult with the fund, if anyone that is going to email them and put the money multiplier, they're going to scale you up to an 18% return, regardless of the dollar amount. And if you exceed a certain dollar amount on there, there's a 5% bonus they pay at the maturity rate, at the maturity of your promissory note. But that's a 2-year commitment, 24-month commitment to get that 5% bonus and a certain dollar amount. I've been doing extremely well with it since 2022.
Not only that, I just want to preface, we were in the car the one day. I think we were going to the airport in Jackson Hole. Is that where we were? Or we were going to the airport somewhere. And you pulled your phone up and you showed me all your deposits from your investments in this?
Yeah, that was in Vegas.
See, I
yeah.
can't even keep track where the hell I'm at.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was in Vegas. It's I wouldn't be on here telling you about it and accept the invitation to speak if it wasn't something I experienced myself and was doing very well with. After you've gone through the crap I've gone through and have to have the mentality that I have, I'm not afraid at all of anything, but I try to be as diligent as possible, for God's not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And so I take that sound mind part and do what I know is going to give me the quality of life I'm looking for. So I've been blessed enough to put a larger amount into the fund to receive a larger return. And it's been a blessing for sure. So it's something that if you can bless other people and share stuff with them, great. So
I think there's a couple more things, but one of the things I want to point out, folks, is like how I came across this wasn't because he reached out to me or I reached out to him about the fund. I was talking to Carson. Carson's like, oh, you might want to talk to Arthur, because he's doing a big policy, like a really big policy. And a lot of times like that'll get kicked over to me. And I just gave him a call, and they also, Stephen had talked to him prior to this, and Stephen had said, he's got this fund. It sounds really interesting. So I got on the phone, he's telling me about it. And because I come from that world, I understand it, but this was something I hadn't really heard about. I know of all these other funds where, the fund raises money and they do real estate or these other things, but here, this was like, you're basically getting paid based on a service that they're providing. And I literally kept going deeper and deeper. I brought, our SEC law firm on and like had them say, okay, is this, real? And, although my SEC attorney didn't like the paperwork, because what I was initially going to do is I was going to kind of repackage what Arthur's got, that site, but I was going to like make my own and almost like just say, hey, this is my fund. And Arthur was going to allow that, but then he wanted me to do a bunch of paperwork anyway, not going down the rabbit hole there. So then I just said, Arthur, just talk to people about it as it's you. Like, I don't need to do that. And I just found it fascinating, but I started inquiring about it. I started looking at it because one of the things I've been trying to do, my wife, who's a stay-at-home mom, she gets a paycheck from our holding company, but she's always like, I want to make more money. I want to make more money. How do I do that? And I'm like, oh, you can come in and work. You can do this. I'm like, you're not going to just get more money by just not doing anything. And finally, like, I came up with this idea. I'm like, hey, we got this money from this real estate deal we closed. Like, let's take this money, let's put it in Arthur, and I'll have Arthur pay a check to you. So now your money's actually working for you and you benefit from the check. Because a lot of the money just comes into the companies and gets, dispersed different ways. Larissa never sees the benefits. So that's why I did this. But I did a lot of research on it because obviously that's just what we do. And there was really nothing I didn't like about it. And one of the things I love, and we didn't hit this yet, is there's a kick out in the paperwork that you'll see. And you can see all the paperwork on that portal, folks. If you got into this, and let's just say 2-3 months, whatever, I'll let you talk about the kick out. And I remember I drilled you on it. Then I had my attorney look at it. And then I went back and I said, where is that clause in this when I was getting ready to sign it? Because I was just like, okay, if I want to unravel this, if this isn't what it seems like, how do I get out? Can you talk a little bit about the kick out?
Yeah, well, there's a penalty for the kick out.
Oh, sure.
It's 8% penalty of whatever your balance is if you request your funds prior to the maturity date. And it's a 2-month, 60-day process to get those funds. The reason being is that once they commit to a certain dollar amount, there's a penalty they have to pay if they don't participate at that level. So they count everybody's investment that comes in. They know that's what they're getting. The other way to receive your funds back is that whatever your interest return is, if the fund is not performing at that level for 2 consecutive months, you can request your funds back with no penalty. So if the fund is not giving you what you signed up for, or you need something back before then, it takes 60 days to get it back, and you there's 8% penalty on the funds. So I would not recommend investing something that you need to live off of. That's not how investments work. So it should be something that you aren't thinking about, that you don't need to live on, that kind of stuff. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to give advice. It's just, for me, I wouldn't do it. If I need cash into my bank to live off it, then I wouldn't be trying to invest that money to do so. But yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. They're not, the group, they're really transparent. It's an opportunity for people to get a good return consistently. I've been doing it since 2022, and we've had other clients, we had people doing it, friends and family doing it since 2018. And they've always been payouts. There's never been an issue. I know the guy that owns the company. He's a good friend of mine who does the processing, the bond program. And he's been doing it since 2007 and bought the bond company not long ago, and bought the guy out who was the head guy. Now he's the head guy. So it's they do really well. You know what? He told me, was it yesterday? He said, Arthur, since the last week of December till 2 or 3 days ago, basically a 10-day window, they processed $934,000 profit to the fund, to the bond company, just from processing paper.
I mean, here's a question I got. It's kind of
Fees,
way off
fees,
topic.
fees. Yeah.
So like, if the markets were to deteriorate, and let's just say they were to get worse and worse, the stock market was to start going down and down, and, you know, obviously we know there's all these issues with banks and everything else, that would, just logically thinking, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like that would make this kind of processing and servicing that they do like busier, because there's more commercial paper to process. And am I thinking about this properly?
Well, put it this way, the market doesn't affect it for the most part at all, because it's not based on the market performance or any instrument's performance, because it's like a mortgage. Mortgages aren't going to stop. People aren't going to stop buying cars or art or jewelry. So when you're processing, it's like a mortgage. If you've ever had a mortgage, or if you ever bought a car, you can do a car. If you go into a car dealer, they want you to do financing with them. It's not their money they're giving you, but they're getting paid a fee for that car being financed. They're also getting paid a fee for any ancillary insurance products you use. That's all the company's doing, the bond program's doing. They're getting paid a fee for processing that paper. They don't have to own the paper. They don't have to wait for the paper to wait for a house to be sold. Now they make money. They're just doing underwriting and processing of all these financial instruments. So it's not based on the market doing really well or doing really bad. They don't have enough money to buy the amount of paper for them to process. It's the most risk-averse thing I've ever seen. And it's a great scenario. So that's about as much as I can say without it being trying to tell somebody, hey, go do this.
Now, I can't remember. It was Tracy was asking, is it 18 or 24 months? It's 18 months, right?
18 months is the minimum. Correct. 18 months is the minimum.
18 months, you get monthly checks. So once you start, there's usually about a 30-day like delay before the first check comes, just because of the. You know,
it's actually like a 60-day delay. What we did is that in the processing world, December, January is kind of like a weird time for them, because the dates kind of are ending and getting reset. So any commitment and investment done by January 15th is being paid out March 1st. Typically that will be April 1st. It's 60 days after the first of the month. So typically if you invested in January, they have all of February, all of March, and your first payment will be made on April 1st. So it's typically 60 days. But now it's like 45 days, anything going before January 15th. And after the 15th, it will go back to the 60-day window. They just have a set in there that they're able to take advantage of for processing to get those things done. Another good thing about it is this: they'll get paid in 3 to 5 days, but they don't actually get the check sent to them for another 10 to 20 days. And so what they will do is they'll use those returns to continue to process paper and kind of making extra money on the return money. So as they wait each month to pay you out, they're making money on the client's money, just to be candid, until the payout is done, which is what you want. You want them to be able to have enough resources and time to continue to build and make money, because it's just kind of helping to ensure your payment. And the good thing about it is that the better the fund does, they will pay out a dividend. They could go up to 24% if the fund is doing well and they're able to process and make more money. So it's not just what you see on the promissory note is going to be a minimum. It could be more.
Right. And the minimum was 50,000, right?
50,000. But if you contact them and say, hey, look, I want to do 25, it's possible, but they won't go less than 25.
Yeah, we talked about that in Las Vegas, how you kind of made that offer to just that group. So you're basically saying the same thing here.
Yes, sir.
18%, and they can go less than 50.
Correct. Yeah. The good thing about it is that you can use rollover money that's just sitting there not doing anything. And I listen to you talking about how 401ks may be doing well right now, but you have to look over the totality of the last 3 to 5 years, and has it done well every year? What's the average? What is it averaging out? The fixed income fund is not averaging out below this is what you're getting or more. It's a promissory note. It's a promise to pay. Loaning someone money, they have a debt to pay you out a certain amount. So it's not going below that.
Absolutely. All right. We got a bunch of questions. I know we're a bit over, but if anyone needs to jump off, folks, you can. I put the link in there. You can go to the portal, watch all the videos. You saw one of them, but there's a bunch of others. You can kind of see how the statements look. You can research all of the third parties that they use, from the accounting, the auditing, and everything else. And if you're interested in it, right there, you just do info@ipgfixedincomefund.com. Make sure you say that you saw from this webinar, the wealth webinar or money multiplier. That way you'll get the 18%, and also you can go lower than the 50. And then you'll talk to, I always talk to Ishmael. I've never spoken to Dave, but it looks like you'll speak to one of them. And let's see. First question, Jill said, out of curiosity, are there a lot of other fixed income type funds like this out there? If so, what makes this one unique?
There's other fixed income funds out there. I don't know of anyone that is a business. This is a business that's basically sharing in their proceeds, because the nature of their business is in the financial world. So it's something similar and familiar to individuals. In my opinion, it's been safe for me because I know the principal that owns the company, and I know the people that are doing the fund. And I can only speak from my experience. I've done really well with it. But you can do really well with a lot of fixed income funds. I've seen some other fixed income funds that have multiple businesses in there. I just didn't like it. Say, hey, we do some real estate. We do invest in masterminds and the fees for masterminds. We invest in Broadway shows. It was like 8 different things. I'm like, I don't like that. Those things, I mean, Broadway shows can get canceled. Markets can change. To answer a question directly, what's different from this one is that it's not market dependent. It's market agnostic. The performance of the market, financial market, doesn't affect the return. It's not something, the market went down, is my money okay? Or the real estate market is doing really good. Is mine making more money? Is it going slow now? It has nothing to do with it. And just research the other ones if you like, find one that you think is better. Have at it. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, what I've done with this one.
Brad said, can you partner with others, multiple members of an LLC, and put 50,000 into the fund? So basically kind of start an LLC, pool funds, and put it in?
You can aggregate capital. You can pool funds. Yes, you can. You can do it from a trust, a charitable remainder trust. I've had people do it from charitable remainder trust. I've had people do it from 401ks or self-directed RAs, that were originally 401ks. I've seen people do it from a business standpoint. Yes, you can partner with individuals, aggregate capital, and invest in the fund that way. It's also a great way to diversify. If you have other things going on, you have $100,000 sitting around, or hey, you know what? I got this in my self-directed RA, or I've got money back from my whole life policy, and I want to do something with it that's kind of safe. I want to kind of put it away and just get my checks every month. It's a great tool.
Okay, Christine, what's up, Christine? She said, has Arthur gotten the promised percentage age every month since 2022? So basically, Christine's asking has there ever been any differentiation in what you've returned or what you've received from your money that you have invested?
No, has not. It's been the same or more. You can use a self-directed RA. You can have, and the money that I see a question on here. If you invest from a certain vehicle, like a self-directed RA or Roth, it will go back to that account, tax deferred. So you don't get the funds in your hand, it would go back to that instrument or that investment vehicle or retirement account, and you'd be subject to whatever the taxes or penalties are when you take it out from there.
Madeline said, after the initial investment, can you invest more? So I've gotten a bunch of questions of
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. And
now I will tell you this though, each time you invest, you're still under the 18-month period for that investment is new. So if you invested in January and have 18 months, and then you invested in June, there's still 18 months from that date in June, not the original investment time, even though it's under the same account. And then 18 months is from the first payment, not when you invest the money, from the 18 months from your first payment amount.
Yep.
So if you invest in January, your first payment is made in March, then it's 18 months from that first payment date.
Yeah, and just to be clear, just from a disclaimer standpoint, it's 18% annualized interest, and then
Yes.
the interest is paid out monthly. So 18
Right.
divided by 12, that's your monthly amount you'd get.
Right. 1.5%.
18% a month, then you should be asking a lot of other questions like, how is that even possible? That would be where it seems very unrealistic. So no, it's 18% annualized.
But those numbers are possible, but that's a business if you own a business.
Right. Right. You'd have to own the business to do that.
Yeah. If you're making a $10 base and selling it for $40, then yeah, you can get 18% a month, 18% a month.
Absolutely. Do you have a minimum on second? Oh yeah. Is there a minimum on the second? So like, let's say you did 50 or 25 or whatever your initial, is there a minimum on subsequent investments that you put in?
It's up to them. They've dealt with different clients and different numbers, but I've seen numbers as low as 10,000 on the comeback. But they could arbitrarily say, you know what, we're not taking anything less than 25 or 50. But yeah, they work with people pretty well. I've seen them a few people that haven't had any issues with adding 15,000 or 10,000. And as they get more, it hasn't been available to the general public yet. So they're about to start advertising probably next month, and they will be inundated once people start seeing. The portal is about 90% finished. So they're doing some more things with the portal, but yeah, you can add money to it.
Yeah, getting a lot of questions about adding. And then Ron, we covered this already, but I think it's a good one. So it says, if the profits or proceeds are not based on the market, where is the influx of capital coming from? So essentially, how are you able to provide 18% interest, for investors? I know you already covered that, but I think it's worth hitting again.
No problem at all. When your money is used to invest to do their business, they're generating capital from that paper that they're processing. So if they're getting paid, let's just say 3% on $1 million process, that's $30,000 that they're generating. So they would take that 30,000 and pay it out to investors as a return. So it's generated, they can tranche about 3 times a month from their investment. So those tranches, when they make those returns, that's how they're taking the profits from those returns, and that's how they're paying out investors that money. That's why it's locked up for 18 months. They want to be able to predict what they're able to do. And once they can predict that, they are comfortable with the 18% investment return was not a problem. They do really well. They do really well.
They pay interest monthly. When do you actually get your investment back? 18 months after the first payment starts.
Correct. 18 months after the first payment. Unless you want to continue on, you say, look, I want to keep going. And then it's another 18 months. But if you say, look, I want to get my at maturity, I want to receive my funds back, it's not a problem.
Here's one question, and this is actually more just because I have funds and how we work is probably different than you. So let's say somebody does this and on the 18th month, is their money just sent back to them, or do they have to put in for a liquidation, or do they have to request the money back? Like, how do you guys handle that? I know on ours, the real estate ones that are lent, we require the folks to put in a liquidation request. Like, we'd like to take a distribution. How does it work on this one?
Same thing. Put it in a liquidation request. Hey, at the end of my maturity date, we'd like to receive my funds back, and it can be done via email. Doesn't have to be some kind of official notarized letter.
Yeah, that's how most funds are. And I think a lot of folks, like when you hear 18 months, you think in 18 months on the day, you're going to get a check back. So on like the 16th or 17th month, you just put in your redemption request or your liquidation request, and then they just send the money back. That's how ours is. But in real estate, because we are actually physically investing in real estate deals or lending on real estate deals for our funds, different than this. What we have to do is we have to wait for a liquidity event, a refinance, a property to sell, which is very different than what they're doing, because they don't have a liquidation event that they have to wait for. They're always liquid, so they can turn money, much quicker than we can with our funds. So that's another unique feature.
I'm a real estate investor. I invest in a lot of real estate now. I have a lot of property, a lot of houses I'm building now, development, so forth and so on. I'd rather be doing this because quite honestly and candidly, real estate's a headache. Employees, staff, the rates are going to determine, everything's going great. People don't realize, as a developer and investor, you can't invest when the rates are going great to build property or develop property, because by the time you finish, the rates could change. And then you're stuck in a market that's not doing well. So I just do real estate and not pay attention to the market. But to your point, yes, there's no event that has to take place to liquidate to be able to pay it out.
Well, just in the sake of time, folks, I'm going to stop the record, but thanks for joining us for this week's wealth webinar. There are a couple other questions we're going to hit offline. Thanks, everybody. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. We're putting up tons of them, but I think if you like this one, you'll probably like that video as well. Not only that, I've got a book that I created, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, where we actually show you what the wealthy do in the game they play with money. I want you to have that for free. And if you want to know about all my new videos coming up, click that alert button. Actually, smash that alert button, and you'll be notified every time we put a new video. So we'll see you on the next episode.